Hi
hey everyone!
Friends. We're here today to share another TBR video.
That's right.
What we hope to read in January.
Well, you know what that really means. It's just, these are things we hope we're going to read.
At least we'll try to read some of them.
We're
How
going
about
to
that?
give it a shot. Yeah,
all
that's
right,
how that
do
works.
you want to kick things off?
I'm going to kick
New
things
year,
off.
new
New
reads.
year, new reads. So this has been sitting on my TBR, which I am clearing out magnificently, as predicted and promised. This is by Mira Bolender. Mira Bolender. City of Broken Magic. If it's magic, which wire do you cut? It's basically a magical bomb squad. It's by Tor. Published by Tor. It centers around, I want to say, the story of Laura, who is part of a team of humans who are able to, they're called sweepers. They're the only ones who can sort of clear out magical infestations that eat magic. Super cool. So I'm looking forward to this. It feels like one of those fast-paced action urban fantasy magic kind of thing. I'm down for that.
Cool.
Next book I want to read, finally, a lot of these have been sitting on my shelf for a while. Quinny and Hopper, Smart Cookies. So I think this is a part 2. It's about Quinny and Hopper. The school outlawed like cookies for a while, and I'm just like, I need to get behind these kids who are bringing that back. Done. The next one is this is something that I picked up at BEA. It's out now. Charlie Thorne and the Last Equation by Stuart Gibbs. So Charlie Thorne is like the super genius. She's really young. The CIA needs her for a bunch of stuff, and so it's got that code of super. I know. So it's got that mini super sleuth kind of thing. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this book sort of turns out. Also sitting on my shelf for the longest time, part 2, Sanity and Tallulah Field Trip by Molly Brooks. I got this particular arc signed at BEA, which is super cool. This is basically part 2 of what happens. So Sanity and Tallulah are 2 little kids who are on a space station. That's where they call home. This is after the aftermath of recovering from their illegal science experiment of creating new life, whom they lovingly dubbed Princess Sparkle, Destroyer of Worlds. And this is just what happened after that particular thing where they actually ended up saving the space station.
Of course they did.
And I do want to know what happened to Princess Sparkle, Destroyer of Worlds. I hope they mention her here. We'll see. But it was a great first book. I'm looking forward to the second. And lastly, before I sort of turn things over to Alexa, is a book that will come out January 2020.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm hoping to finish that right on time. It's called Jinx by Amy McCullough.
They have magical metal pets.
That's true. It's kind of like Big Hero 6 in a sense, where you've got like robots and machines and stuff like that. And her particular Baymax moment is this experimental sort of customizable pet that has a different kind of bit of software and hardware that she sort of stumbles on. It escapes, she makes friends with it, and now they want her. It's that kind of like, cyber techie kind of story.
That sounds like fun, actually.
So it's a world of magical pets. So it's kind of like, Digimon-esque, I want to say, but they don't really fight. But hence the Big Hero 6 element of they're just the revolutionary new thing that just happens to bond with like random child number 7, who is apparently our main character with a compelling story. And that particular random child is named Lacey Chu, and so we'll see how this works.
Moving right along, I'm going to share 2 books that I have for review and then 2 books that I'm rereading in January. Review books first. We're going to start with The Wolf of Aranyaro, which is by K.S. Villoso. Funnily enough, both of these review books are by Filipino authors, which is pretty cool. So this one is about a queen named Talien. I'm going to read them back to you because it actually says it better than I ever could. Born under the crumbling towers of Aranyaro, Queen Talien was the shining jewel and legacy of the bloody War of the Wolves, which nearly tore her nation apart. But her upcoming marriage to the son of her father's rival heralds peaceful days to come. Her fiancé's sudden departure before their reign begins puts a quick end to those dreams, and the kingdom is fractured beyond repair. So years later, she receives a message, and then it sends her on a journey overseas, and she hopes it's going to be a reconciliation attempt. Instead, it's more like an assassination attempt. And
wow.
So, stranded over there with no one she can trust, she's going to have to figure out how to embrace her reputation as the Wolf of Aranyaro. So, sounds really good.
Sounds really good.
Oh, and this arc came from Orbit. So, Paula, thank you for sending this to me. And the other arc that I'm going to be reading, Once Upon a Sunset by Tiff Marcello. So this one is about a woman named Diana Gallagher Carey. She lives in Washington, D.C., and she's kind of trying to just bury herself in work while she's grieving her grandmother and her breakup. Her mom finds a bunch of letters that her grandfather had written to her grandmother, and it turns out that her grandfather, who they all thought had died in the war, is actually alive.
Oh!
So she journeys to the Philippines in order to sort of like find out more about that side of her family.
Crazy.
So it sounds like it's going to be really, really good and really moving. Rereads time. So I'm going to reread The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett.
Why not?
Mostly because Kristen said she was going to read it, and then it reminded me how much I enjoyed the story, and then I was like, you know what, I'm going to reread it too. And she was the one who suggested that I reread this particular edition. It's the Mina Lima edition, and it comes with like fun pages and stuff.
Oh, hey!
So I'm going to do that. You guys probably already know The Secret Garden is one of my favorite children's classics. I think it's one of Maggie's as well. It is about Mary Lennox, who is orphaned at a young age, and she's sent to live with her uncle
at Misselthwaite Manor.
While she's there, she may just discover more about the family she did not know she had. as well as make friends with certain other
and
people.
Change the family
magic.
forever.
Yep.
And yes, discover the magic.
By the way, if you wanted an audiobook recommendation, I don't know if it's still available, but Karen Gillan narrates a version of it.
And this is Karen Gillan, who some of you know as Nebula, a lot of you know as Amy Pond from the Doctor Who series. For those of you who have seen Jumanji recently, she's the hot one.
Basically. The other book I'll be rereading with my friends
girl.
Kristen, DJ, and Rachel, and we are rereading Beautiful Creatures. Well, I'm rereading Beautiful Creatures by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll.
Let's
the
be
tagline, though: some loves are meant to be, others are cursed. Lena?
It's
Lena.
It's Lena Duquesne's.
Lena Duquesne's is basically the odd one out in the small town that she lives in. She and her family sort of have magical abilities, but there's also a curse on them, and as she struggles with both those things, it's getting harder and harder for her to conceal that.
Right.
In the same town is a boy called Ethan Wade, and he just wants to leave Gatlin, but he also is being haunted by the dreams he's having of this girl, and we can all kind of figure out who that
maybe
is.
looks like Lena.
They have this unexplainable connection, which obviously gets explained in the book at some point.
I'm down. Hey, I'm probably going to tag along for this read, so
But
please do not think that I'm scoffing at this.
The reason
I
why
love
I'm
this book.
scoffing is because I didn't love the movie. The casting of that movie was so good, and it sounded so promising, and I just did not like the movie. However, I read this book a long time ago, and I remember really liking it. So we'll see if that holds up now.
I actually like both.
It's okay. Everybody in the friend group also likes the movie.
So I can kind of scoff about it a little bit
with love,
because it's with love. I
actually have never continued though.
Alessa did not know until today that I have all 4 books in my Kindle. Like,
fun for me because then I can just continue everything.
So there's that.
All right.
Okay. I'm gonna round mine off with my next sort of 5 books that I'm hoping to read before January ends. I just recently got a copy of the latest Avatar: The Last Airbender graphic novels called Imbalance.
Ooh.
All set after the Avatar: The Last Airbender series ended on TV. And Imbalance takes Team Avatar back to, I want to say, the border between the Fire Nation and the Earth Kingdom. For those of you who don't know what Avatar: The Last Airbender is, do Google it. It's super famous, it's super cool. It's set in a world where there are earthbenders, firebenders, waterbenders, and airbenders living in different parts of the world. And the Avatar is a being that is reborn every generation that has all 4 and is reborn in every single nation as part of a way to balance the world. Now that balance has been reached, it's the world's throwing itself in imbalance again. There is a war brewing between the benders and the non-benders, which is, I think, a great prequel. Which is a great way to set up the next Avatar series with Avatar Korra, also on Nickelodeon.
Oh, I love Korra.
This is the time in between then and there. So very, very cool. I'm looking forward to reading that. Did want to have a Rick Riordan and Garth Nix-a-thon, where I catch up on everything Rick Riordan and Garth Nix. And I've started in 2019 with all of the Percy Jackson books, but I am not caught up with all of the imprints. So these are book 2s I want to start with of Arusha.
Arusha and the Song of Death.
It's called Arusha and the Song of Death. We got this from Disney ages ago. Arusha is a girl, and so this is mostly tied to, I want to say, Indian lore.
Hindu mythology. Yeah.
Hindu mythology. And the Firekeeper by J.C. Cervantes, whom is tied to, I want to say, Mayan mythology,
yes.
Which is really great. So Arusha on this side, Zayn Obispo on this other side. Yeah, I'm hoping that I get to read these 2 books in January to kick off.
Your Rick Riordan-a-thon. Read Uncle Rick.
Read Uncle Rick. Read Uncle Rick and Nix-a-thon. I don't know.
Nix-a-thon is better.
Nix-a-thon is so much better. Emily Leborn wrote Ransacker, which is the second book to the Berserker series.
Sister, right.
And see, here's the thing. When you read a story about how the Viking gods blessed certain people with certain gifts, Berserkers are people that suddenly have great strength and just can rip houses and bears apart. Ransackers do certain things, and etc., but at cost to their bodies as part of the Viking lore. And then you center that around a young girl who is a ransacker, as inherited from a previous generation who were Berserker. It's just this whole... And then you put it in the West. So this is Vikings meets cowboys during the kind of prospecty, kind of pioneery times in the U.S. I don't know what to call that particular era. My history is terrible, and it's only as bad as my geography. So I don't know where everything is happening, but I do know what is happening, and it's great. And I do want to read this for January just to get it over with. It happens after the events of Berserker, and I just want to see what kind of new powers are now in play. Finally, a little delayed.
I still have to read that series.
The Adventurers Guild. This is book 3 of the Adventurers Guild series, Night of Dangers by Zach Lauren Clark and Nick Eliopoulos. I love this because it is, first of all, by itself, a really good middle grade adventure medieval story set in a world where dangers have pretty much, after a terrible cataclysm, have forced the remaining remnants of sentient life into like little cities.
Sure.
Where that's the only safety. Right? Everything else is just fair game, and it's terrible. It's ruins. And in that city, this particular city where story takes place, there is a guild of adventurers who sort of go out, venture out, get supplies, that kind of thing. And they induct two best friends, Den and Brock. One of them's a half elf, one of them's like merchant spawn, and he's sort of rich, but
I'll
he's
be the half
sort of
elf.
like the
You
rogue.
can be the merchant spawn.
Totally. And they are effectively a Dungeons and Dragons party. You see there's so much D&D on
that's
here
why I
that it's
wanna
just
read
so
it.
good. I don't know if the authors did any D&D. That's my theory next to my initial theory of I really feel like they're writing for each of the characters. I don't know who's who. But since the story is split sort of between their personalities,
yeah.
so what with the merchant spawn sort of being like the kind of the rogue, the very sort of deceptive but sarcastic kind of thing, and then you've got the earnest kind of hero, half elf. You know, I don't know my place in the world. But
We are the merchant spawn.
yeah, so to find and then you've got their strongest warrior, which is this dwarven maiden, which is really, really cool. She could have been a knight. It's really, really fun. This is the third book. The book prior to this was a terrible cliffhanger. I'm struggling through the first few pages because I don't know what happened anymore, which makes me feel I have to read the first two again.
Just acquire the first two,
We
and
will
then
acquire the
we can
first two,
read
and
them.
then we'll see where we go from there.
So I can read them too. I'm gonna read a couple of things with Kristen, I think. So first of those things is The Secret Life of Violet Grant, which is by Beatrice Williams. And this was actually a book that was gifted to me by Kelly like forever ago. I can't even remember. And it has two timelines. It follows Vivian Schuyler, just graduated from college. She's working at a magazine, but then she gets subsequently fired. And then she doesn't know what she's gonna do until she gets a parcel in the mail that sort of gives her a new lead to follow in the story. And then there's another timeline with one of her, I think it's her ancestors, Violet Schuyler Grant. And it's following her story when she goes to Europe to study physics. And it's like this whole dual timeline sort of historical fiction thing. Vivian is trying to figure out what happened to Violet all those years ago, and it sounds really good. I'm really looking forward to it. We actually read a Beatrice Williams like a year ago together as well, so it'll be fun to jump into this one. This is a reread for Kristen, but it'll be a first read for me, and that's Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Honestly, all I don't know about this story is that it's about a woman who gets married to this guy, and then she finds out when she's in the house that all of the people in the house keep talking about this person named Rebecca. Other than that, I don't really know much about it. I'm pretty sure that's the main plot of it though. I am looking forward to reading it because I know a lot of my friends have really enjoyed it as a classic, which I think bodes well for me too. So it'll be nice to kick off the year with another new classic. And then I'm still continuing with my project of having friends pick books from my TBR for me to read. So the first one is going to be a choice from my friend Hannah, and she picked The Downstairs Girl by Stacey Lee, which is fitting because Hannah is the reason I ever picked up a Stacey Lee book in the first place. In this book, the main character is named Jo, and she, by day, works as a maid for like a bratty daughter of some very rich person, and by night, she actually writes an advice column called Dear Miss Sweetie. And in her advice column at first, it was like, you know, lighter fare, lighter issues, but then she slowly starts to sort of confront different issues of race and class in her column, and that results in a backlash. And I want to see what this story is like. I have enjoyed a lot of Stacey Lee's other work, and I think she does a great job putting more people of color, specifically Asian people, into American history, and I think that's so interesting. Like, she gives us another perspective because we get to see that kind of stuff, and so I'm looking forward to reading this one. I am gonna finish a series that I'm kind of sad to be finishing, and that is Rebel by Maria Lu, which is the last book in the Legend trilogy. This is a fourth book that came out like years after the trilogy has ended, and it actually has the two characters from that series, but also one character that was not a main player in that series now coming to the forefront. I don't know much else about this, but when Marie talked about it, she said that it combines elements of the Legend trilogy and characters from that trilogy, but also elements from Warcross, and I'm here for this because you guys know I love Warcross, and I also really enjoyed Legend, so I am looking forward to finally concluding the series. And last, but certainly not least, Tempest and Slaughter by Tamora Pierce.
Tammy.
This is basically a story that is the prequel to Numair. It's about Numair when he was still called Aram Draper and still at university, yes?
For those of you who don't know, Numair Salmanen happens to be one of the few black robe mages that exist in the Tortal sort of universe, specifically allied to the king and queen of Tortal, has been a teacher of the wild mage Dane, who is the titular character in the Wild Magic series that Tamara Pierce had written. Now this is the prequel to how Numair, the great Numair Salmanen, became the Numair.
Oh my God. I'm really excited.
Fame.
It's been so long since I've read a new Tamara Pierce book that I'm really looking forward to reading this. And I also have this sinking suspicion that it's going to make me want to read the Immortal series, so
just
be that as it will.
Just because you can't get enough of Numair.
I know, and I love Numair. Those are all the books that we intend to try to read in January. Wish us luck. I hope we can do it.
There's a huge hope that it's possible. It's
huge
possible.
hope.
It's possible.
Ambition is huge.
It's possible.
Actual likelihood of it happening, I don't know.
Well,
We'll find out at the end of the month.
We have the attention span of goldfish, like most of you, where it's like, I'm going to read these books, and then, ooh, pretty new book, and then that's it.
And it's gone.
over.
It's bye.
It's not even, and that leads you to another rabbit hole. But hey, it's nice to have plans, but it's even better
Tell
to
us
be
what your
spontaneous.
January reading plans are. We'd love to know what's on your TBR. If you've read any of these books and loved them or didn't like them,
We
let
will
us
try
know
to
that
support
well.
you as much as you've supported us.
We would love to be
and
supportive and cheer you on while you try to tackle your TBR.
I'm already seeing myself getting so distracted by a bunch of other books because there's Battle Elite, like the entire Battle Elite.
Wait for it,
series.
because in March, like I'm predicting this, in March I will literally not even be able to make a TBR because there's just too many things happening. Anyway, we'll see you guys for another video soon. Bye!
Bye.